I wasn't scared to like suck in a big situation because I was vulnerable. I think it's the strongest thing about me. It's always been the strongest thing about me. I'm not scared to show who I am or show what I'm bad at or good at, or I've never been scared of that ever.
Hey y'all, welcome back to When the Cleats Come Off. I have former teammate from the Dallas Charge. And basically, you guys heard prior to this how many accolades she has. It's kind of crazy. We're not going to spend another 10 minutes talking about it. But Lauren Haeger, welcome to the convo.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh man, this interview, it could go to a million places. Like, it's only because I know you so well. It's like, we can talk about pitching and hitting. We can talk about travel ball. We can talk about body positivity. We could talk about multi-sport athletes. Like, you and I have talked about this so much. And I think what can help the audience get to know you better, and I love starting off with this question, is just like, where has your journey started in softball? Where has it led you? What lessons has it taught you? Like, just share with me your story through softball so the audience and I can get to know it a little better.
Yeah, so I think everybody assumes that I was born in Florida, which I am not. So I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was there, and my whole family still lives there. So I was 18. Then I went on to play. Well, I mean, if you want to get really detailed, I guess we could talk about. I did play multiple sports in high school. I played travel volleyball. I've actually been missing volleyball a lot lately. Always wishing, like, they have adult leagues in Charlotte, but I give lessons at night, so I can't ever play in them, but I think it would be really fun.
One night a week, that's all it takes.
God, I know, I wish. It's like on my busiest night, you know what I mean?
Of course.
But I, wish I could do that to like work out, because that would be a much more fun workout than anything else I can think of. So I played, basketball, volleyball my whole life. Softball was always a huge priority of mine and something that brought me so much joy. It was also something I was good at, and that makes you feel good too. And that's probably why you want to keep doing stuff like that. Volleyball was definitely something I had to work more at, so I enjoyed that part of that. I started pitching when I was like 12, and I think people don't know that either. Yeah. I was a catcher, and then I started having knee problems at like 11, and my parents were like, let's pick something else. So it was mainly because of growing and stuff when you look back at it, but I started pitching actually like very seriously when I was around 12. And so I give lessons full time. And so I get young kids that are like, I'm 11, is it too late? I'm like, no way. Like, you are 11 years old and it's okay. So then I played in California all the time for travel ball. I played for the Arizona Hotshots for most of the later parts of my travel ball years. Florida saw me in California. I had just recently saw who they were because they came to Arizona for the Fiesta Bowl with Tim Tebow. And so I was like, oh, Florida. But I was never a Florida fan. That was never something that was like a part of my family, nothing. Yeah. And so I kind of realized, I was like, oh, I know who that is. And then they came and watched me play, and we did all the things, and the unofficial visit, and I took unofficials to 5 schools, and I narrowed it down to Florida. So then I went to Florida from season 2012 to 2015. So it seems like forever ago at this point. Mm-hmm. We're getting old. Because you graduated in the same year as me, right?
Yeah, same year.
Yeah.
You're a year older than me, though. Or like a half a year older.
Oh, but you're 93 birthday?
I am.
We just aged ourselves.
Yeah.
I should have done that.
We did. Who cares? Who cares?
So, I mean, I hope I'm not missing anything. Is this like a good brief overview? I guess.
Dude, that's your story. If you feel
okay. Well, it depends on how detailed you want me to get it. No, I played in Florida. I pitched and hit at the University of Florida. So that was, I think, really something that was a big priority to me in my recruiting process. I asked every single school if I could do both. I don't necessarily think Coach Walton knew that I could hit at the level that I did until I got there. And he was like, oh, yes, you can. So that was really cool. It was really hard. It was a lot of extra that I had to do that I think people don't realize when you are a hitting pitcher. I have to be one of the best 9 hitters on my team to hit out of all these girls who basically just play defense and hit. And so that's what they're good at. And then I also had to be the caliber of like one of the best pitchers in the nation if I'm going to Florida to pitch too. So there was a lot of work that had to be done in there. I look back at it now, and when I'm giving lessons and people are like, well, it's volleyball season, it's basketball season, that is something that I never skipped out on. I always pitched and I always hit, no matter whatever sport I was playing, however many days a week I was playing. That is something that I always made time for, but I didn't feel like I had to. I just love to hit and I love to pitch and I love to play softball. It brought me so much joy, and competing. I will say now that I've, stopped playing for the last couple years, three or 4 years now, I do miss competing.
Yeah.
And that adrenaline rush of a strikeout or a home run or whatever, like those things I kind of miss.
Mm-hmm.
But getting to coach, you kind of, get to still have that similar feelings, not the same, but very similar.
Right.
So that's been really fun.
That's all you need to play volleyball. That's all you need to play volleyball.
I want
so you can compete again. Okay. Just had to throw that in there.
I know. I want to so bad. I actually had a volleyball dream the other night, which was so weird. I think that was a sign.
Yeah, it was.
I did. I had a volleyball dream. Like I was playing volleyball 2 nights ago.
I think it needs to happen. I think everybody listening thinks the same thing.
Thumbs up if you think I should join the volleyball league.
Drop a thumbs up in the comments.
So then after I got done at Florida, I got drafted to play for the Charge. That's where I met Burke. Do people still call you Burke? Because now you're
literally.
I
was gonna say I don't think anybody on this interview has heard that name. That was like my softball name. You know how
well, that's why people called me Haeger.
Like just random people have called you Haeger?
No, like in the league, and no one ever called me that my whole life.
Oh,
so anytime it's like Hags, whatever, that never happened in college. I was Lauren, and so it's like people that I played with or whatever in the pro league if they call me Haeger, like because that does not in my real life ever.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think funny. I called you Hags a lot. I don't know why.
Hags. Yeah.
But yeah, Burke was like only my softball identity. Burke.
People call you, like, they actually call you Ashley?
Yeah. I mean, people now do, but like, so my former pitcher at Purdue, she still calls me Burke. And now I get thrown like a weird loop because I haven't heard that since I played.
In so long. Right.
Yeah. But I love that you still call me Burke. Like, don't change that.
But that's how I met you. You were Burke. So
I know.
I played Charge from 2015 to 2017. Yeah.
That's what I wrote down.
Yeah. That's what I'm just trying to get these years right, and they just keep getting further and further away. It's harder to keep track. Yeah. We started as the Dallas Charge. So we were in Dallas for the first 2 summers. Mm-hmm. And then we switched to the Texas Charge, and we were based out of, our home field was in San Marcos at Texas State. We lived in New Braunfels. So, right in the San Antonio area, I guess you could say is where we were from. And then I played 1 summer with Scrapyard. And from there, I just kind of stopped.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily my decision that it stopped. So that was kind of weird. But yeah, it was time. My back was really hurt. And I was tired of being in pain, to be honest. Like, dealing with injury is hard. And then I just went on to do lessons full time, and I landed in Charlotte, which I love this city. I've been here for 3 years now. I love it here. The weather's great. The people are great. It's big but small. There's a major airport.
Yeah. It's got a Bojangles
all the things that are really important. Yeah. Well, we have those on every corner.
I know.
So, yeah. So that's why I'm in Charlotte. I started coaching travel ball. When I started coaching travel ball, people were like, what are you doing? And there's no way I could have coached travel ball unless it was for the group that I'm coaching now.
Yeah.
Kevin Hind is our head coach. I have become extremely close to their family. He is like a mentor, a dad, a friend, in so many things to me. And then his wife, Donna, has totally become my North Carolina mom. We hang out, but best friend. And then their daughter, Anna, I'm just extremely close to their family, and I could not be coaching travel ball without them. They're amazing.
Yeah.
Kevin's very behind the scenes, but I'm shouting him out because he deserves it.
You better like send him a message once this is out. Like, listen to this.
I know.
Oh,
He
that's
likes
so cool.
to text in GIFs or GIFs. What do you call them?
I say GIF and then I get made fun of by my husband. Like, he thinks I'm an idiot. He's like, GIF is
Your
peanut
husband.
butter. I know. I need
Your
to just keep saying it.
husband.
It doesn't
I
flow.
know.
It doesn't flow very good. But now that
it does.
I mean, it does. I'm just not used to saying it yet. But yes.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
yeah, he makes fun of me.
That's the short story.
I love your story. I wanna like backpack into some things from your story though.
Okay.
I will say, when we were teammates for the Dallas Charge, like, let's just dive into it. We were not treated well. Like, we weren't treated like professional athletes. Like, we were literally changing in the same bathroom that these young girls who look up to us are like using. And like, that was our locker room.
Yeah.
And
I will never forget, quick story. I mean, that was that was 3 days after the biggest part of my entire softball career, where I was walking into stores and people were recognizing me because my highlights were playing on ESPN constantly for the whole month of June and July.
Yeah.
And I would, it was a lot. And I'm stretching behind the dugout where anybody can walk, because it was just like a fourplex of like a travel ball fourplex. And I literally had people like coming up to me as my legs in the air, like taking a photo of me, touching me. And I'm like, this is too much. Like, how am I getting chased to the bathroom by like little girls and I'm having to change my shirt in front of them? Like, it was weird. We had to warm up on the other field. And so we would walk over, and there was nowhere for us to walk without anybody could just walk up to you and touch my shoulder and good luck. And it's not about the fact that they were so nice. It's not like I had a bad experience, but it was just like personal bubble.
Yeah. Like, you're prepping for a big game. Like, yeah. No,
please don't touch me. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to bring that up simply because you really stood up for us, because like, okay, I'm going to look at this from like my perspective. I came from like middle of the pack Big Ten school, didn't even make a regional like throughout my 4 years. And then there's Lauren Haeger. There's Lauren Haeger who's literally like up for an SB, about to leave for a couple days because she's up for 2 SBs, like big wig in our game. And like, obviously, like if I say something, I'm probably going to be benched. So I'm like, what is going to happen here? So Lauren's like, oh no, I don't care. We are bringing this up to the commissioner of the NPF. Like, this is an issue that needs to be addressed. And like, literally a week later, I think we had like at least a tent put up for us.
Like, is that better? I don't know. I was like, yeah, I think I did have like a private meeting. I did have a private meeting with the commissioner, and I was like, we don't have anywhere to go. Like, I have nowhere to, how am I expected to play all these games in such a short amount of time if I have nowhere to recover? I have 3 herniated discs in my back. I don't have anything to help me heal. And when you do go from college to professional, it's a big wake up call on like the things you get and how you're treated.
It's different.
I was getting ridiculed for wearing my cleats that I got from college because they weren't the right brand. But I had not even been given any other cleats. So I was confused as to what I was supposed to wear. But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't a great experience. Now, the people that I have met and the places I got to travel, like, that is obviously priceless. But I don't know. It wasn't I wanted to go to the Charge because I wanted to be a part of something new. I wanted to, make the Charge a competitive team in the league. And it just never really worked out that way. I remember the whole season going, and some people hadn't even received like any gloves or bats or cleats or anything yet.
Yeah.
And,
it was interesting. I will say. Yeah, a lot of people are like, was it like the best experience ever? I mean, honestly, like you were saying, like the people, like teammates were great. Like, I loved getting to know you. I loved getting to know like other people on our team. Like, we just had so much fun because we had to make it fun. But yeah, there were a lot of things that weren't right. But you and I were talking before this about like Athletes Unlimited and how cool it is to be able to see some of our close friends and competitors and teammates like actually get to play in an environment that we wish we would have had.
Absolutely. I think it's such a cool idea, and it has completely changed everything about being a professional softball player.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's exciting. People want to watch it. You've been able to really get to know the players. And I think that's a huge part of why professional sports are successful, is because you want to watch this player compete. That is from your favorite school or whatever, and them getting to mix and intertwine, and constantly it's all changing, and there's just something exciting about it, and it's really fun to watch for me. It's really fun too because I feel like I've played with or against almost every single girl in that league.
Isn't
and
cool?
It's so fun to watch them, you know, do their thing and keep playing.
Totally. Who's your favorite hitter right now in the league? I freaking love DJ Sanders. I didn't even know who she was. I'm obsessed. There's just something about it.
I mean, that changes I don't know. It'd be hard to be like, I only like one, because it's so fun to see them. And I love the point system.
Yeah.
It actually matters to like have good at bats and score runs and win innings. And like, it gives you an incentive to do those things that win the inning, guys. I just feel like that's a very over used kind of sentence when you're, you know, coaching around, but like, this is actually real. Like you can win points if you win this inning. And so it's kind of fun.
It is cool. Yeah. And they're all so good. It's so fun.
Yeah. I think for me, the pitching is where I'm a huge fan of, because pitching to the same people that many times over and over and over again is so freaking hard. It is so I don't have enough tricks. You've seen literally everything I have. Like, how do I still get you out even though you've seen me 7 times already? Like, how does that?
True.
I don't know.
That's so true. I think when you talked about how like people are traveling to go watch, I literally just saw these 2 athletes from California fly to Chicago just to watch Cat pitch.
So cool.
Like, I think that's amazing. Like, we never really saw that. We played in that exact stadium. And I think they always had a pretty good crowd in Chicago, because the Bandits did a good job of promoting their team and getting to know the players.
They had a nice stadium and they had a home, like, and it's Chicago, like there's a lot of people around, you know?
Yeah. And you have Jenny Finch, who played for them and is still like talking about them. And I just think that AU is really good at making softball relevant. And, you know, the amount of just the marketing is so cool. Like being able to rewatch Odyssey Alexander's like diving catch off that bunt from last night. I don't know if you've seen it. I was like, so cool. Like, I feel like I'm there and I'm not.
Yeah.
It's
the media and marketing has been great. And they're highlighting all the things that should be highlighted all the time, and making a big deal out of things that are a big deal. Like the diving catches and the home runs, like they really do a good job of capturing those and putting them out there so people see the, like, this is real and you should watch it.
Yeah. And the players are having so much fun. Like they come up with different themes of the week. Like, you and I literally are just like wishing.
I would have loved for that. Oh my God. That would have been so fun.
Yeah. But I do like to think about it. Somebody mentioned this in an interview recently. It's like, but the thing is, like, you and I helped make that happen.
For sure.
Like when you think about it, when you look back, it's like softball, because you stood up for us in the NPF, it's guaranteed the reason why the player experience is so good now, because that was a big issue for us. So I do want to say, like, you were a big part of the fact that Athletes Unlimited is what it is. And I don't think that should go unnoticed.
Yeah. And it's hard to look at it that way. Sometimes you get really like jealous.
Totally.
But I sit there and I think about, like, I mean, I did keep playing after college. I feel like I did do my softball player duty to keep playing after college, because I was lucky enough to get an opportunity, because there wasn't that many opportunities. But it's just cool to see where it's gone, and it was cool to watch it in the Olympics. I hate that it's not in the next one already. Like, that's so stupid.
I know.
But it's just going to be, I think Athletes Unlimited is going to evolve and grow so much.
Me too.
Like, there's going to be way more than, was it 64 players they have? What is it, 60?
I think it's something like that. Yeah. Somewhere in the 60s.
It's going to be way bigger. And there's going to be, I feel like it is. I really do.
Be.
So cool.
Yeah. I love where it's headed. So let's talk about you. And I know you hate talking about yourself, but I mean, you were the most outstanding player of the Women's College World Series in 2015. You literally hit 70 home runs and had 70 wins as a pitcher in the same, like, that's like unreal. That's Babe Ruth type numbers. Nobody else does that. So describe to me how you were able to be that good. And I know you talked about how you trained, you just loved pitching and hitting and you always did it because you loved it. But like, there has to be more. Like, what type of mentality do you have? What developed that player?
I think that it's taken a really long time to look back and see why, how, where this came from in me. I guess it's been really hard because I hear great players talk about like the work ethic and the stuff they put into it, and they just enjoy the grind. And that, like, I enjoy the grind. It was hard. Like, I don't think that was necessarily fun for me. I couldn't relate to these great athletes talking about like, I'm confident because of my preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Never once crossed my mind ever when I was in the box or playing, like, pitching. And that's just the reality of it. It was hard for me to find, books to read about it, or because that's what it is. You think about like Michael Jordan, not that I'm comparing myself to Michael Jordan, but you hear about like his process, and I'm like, well, I don't relate to that, or I don't relate to so-and-so. And it was hard to figure out why. I think I enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing and I enjoyed the people that I was around. So I think that was a big part of it. Mm-hmm. But looking back to see why I feel like I was good at both, and why that's not really normal. It was always normal to me because that's just what I did. I almost treated myself as two different people.
Mm.
I think that was a big part of it. People say you have to separate all these things, but like, how do you do that? You have to be two different people. I worked like two different people. There was hitter Lauren and there was pitcher Lauren. And I had to work like a hitter, like everybody else. Like, I couldn't let them intertwine at all, because then they would just become average instead of being like two separate great things.
Wow. I've never thought about it like that. That's awesome.
Totally. I had to be coached differently.
Yeah.
I think that's why sometimes I was hard to coach, because A, because I'm stubborn, B, because I'm just the way that I am sometimes.
You know what you need, and you know what you want. And you know how you want to be coached.
Yeah. And sometimes I was wrong, and it was hard for me to admit that. Because that's the stubborn part of me. But it's not a bad thing. I think that's why a part of why I was successful is because of who I am. I think my vulnerability played a huge part of it. I wasn't scared to like suck in a big situation because I was vulnerable. I think it's the strongest thing about me. It's always been the strongest thing about me. I'm not scared to show who I am or show what I'm bad at or good at, or I've never been scared of that ever. And I think that played a huge part of it. It takes being really vulnerable to stand in the box in the Women's College World Series in a huge situation and not be scared of sucking.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, I don't know. I think that played a huge part of it. I don't know. It's been interesting. I wish I could talk to, all my coaches, past coaches about this, past teammates about this, about how it was coaching me and what their strategy was going into it and how to deal with me as a teammate. Because I've never sat there and no one's ever said like, yeah, she was the best teammate ever. Not that I was a bad teammate, but I was just so competitive.
Yeah.
And I was a lot. And when I did bad, I just wanted to vent about it. I don't know. It's been interesting to reflect back on all of it and see maybe why I was good at both of those things. But I'm going to go with my vulnerability is the number one reason why.
Yeah. So take me to you don't play in the Women's College World Series without, a strikeout. And I think a lot of girls, especially I work with, and I'm sure you've found these girls too, it's like they strike out and they take it so personally. And it's hard to jump back from that. But you talked about vulnerability. You probably struck out at the Women's College World Series against great pitchers because that's life. How do you separate yourself from that strikeout and just be able to move on? and help yourself, make the clutch hits, which you did later?
I think early on, I just accepted the fact that that's going to happen. If you accept, like, it is what it is. Like, I'm very much, that's how I live my life, I think, too. Like, it is what it is. We move on, we deal with it, we move on. That's just how I am in my normal life. That's how I am in my relationships and my friendships and work and whatever. It was always just like, it is what it is. And we move on and we try to make it better. And I've just never been someone that super dwells on anything in my life. I'm lucky because that's just not the reality for a lot of people. That was really easy for me to move on of everything. And it helped me in softball so much. But understanding that, like, that's why you have a team. Like, you're not going to be the only one. If you're the only person that is hot at the Women's College World Series, you will not win.
Yeah.
You can't do it alone. And so knowing that you can't do it alone and knowing that you have others to fall back on, that helps too. Like, it also helped me that I was a pitcher too. So I felt like, okay, like, I'm obviously not getting it done offensively, but I have a way to contribute another way.
Yeah.
That was really nice for me to have too. But I see it in my athletes too. They think that they struck out the first time, so their game is over. They don't have 3 more at-bats. They don't like think I have 3 more at-bats. What can I do? What did I learn from this? It's not going to happen again. I wish there was some more of that too, but you're so right. So
did a coach or your dad, because I know he coached you for a little while, like, did they help instill that failure recovery method of just move on? Like, is there somebody that comes to mind when it comes to how you develop that, or do you just not know where it came from?
I think my parents played a big role in that, of how they reacted when I did well and when I didn't do well. I had great parents in that regard. Like, it was never none of my worth came from whether I was good at softball or not, in their eyes. There's only 2 reasons why my parents ever got mad at me, is if I acted like a jerk or if I was lazy. Those 2 things are things that I can control. But if I went 0 for 4 and gave up 6 runs, my dad always kind of waited to hear if I wanted to talk about it in that moment. Hey, do you want to get dinner? Let's go get dinner. And then we kind of talk about it.
Yeah.
But because he knew that why would I be doing this if I wasn't trying? Like, he knew it was hard enough. Like, I don't know. I was lucky. Not every parent is like that. And I just wish there was more. I think now that I'm getting older, and when I want to have kids one day, those kinds of things, you invest so much. And I get that now. Like, you invest so much time, money, traveling, whatever. So you get really caught up in that as like a parent or as all the
like,
things that they've done.
I'm spending all this money on lessons every week, and she didn't perform this weekend. There must be something wrong.
Yeah.
It's funny you
her
say
bat.
that.
I need a new bat.
Yeah, it's her bat. It's it's all these XYZs. But okay, so I have an athlete, and I want to share this with you because you'd appreciate this. She texted me yesterday and said, I'm sucking right now. Like, first of all, it's fall, and we just finished the most important part of the summer, like, which was the World Series.
You probably took a couple weeks off.
She just started school 3 days ago. She is in the midst of volleyball season, like, going through so many things. And she's like, my hitting wasn't there this weekend. And I'm like, can you just look around and think about all of these new things that have happened to you this week? You're exhausted. She goes to bed at midnight and she has to go to school the next day. Like, you're tired. Like, just understand, like, be where your feet are. Understand that so many different things are the reason why maybe your bat's not here this week. But this isn't the most important week of softball. The most important week is like a year from now, like in the summer, Everybody has and then they look at you like you never had a weekend like that. I think they forget that you're a human being and you were a 15, 16-year-old girl at one point. I think people assume that a lot about me. They just think I never did bad or I never sucked. So not the case. But they think that to be successful, they can't have those types of weekends, when actually, like, you need those weekends to, like, learn and so that when it happens again, it can be a shorter turnaround because you learned about it this time. And it just keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter the whole rest of your life. Yeah. So give us a weekend where you did suck. Like, I think that people need to know that, like, because some of my favorite stories to share are when I sucked, and I have a fun one that I'm going to share in a little bit, but, like, what was one that like really stood out to you as like, this was awful, and here's what I did next?
Yeah. There's one that comes to mind. When I was a freshman, we were playing at Georgia, and I always tell people I struck out 12 times in a row, but it was probably more like 8, but it just seemed like 100. Coach Walton could probably tell you because he remembers everything. I literally could not touch it. I struck out 8 times in a row, and I was like, this is, I don't know what to do, because that's honestly never happened. That's not normal. 8 times in a row is not normal to anybody at any level.
Right.
And I was still batting third, and I was like, it almost became funny. It was Taryn Arvalo. I don't ever know how to say her last name. Yeah. But she didn't throw as hard, but her ball just moved so crazy. Her curveball was so good, and I could not tell what was a ball, what was a strike. If I swung, I could not touch it at all. And it almost became, I would laugh. I was laughing towards the end because I was like, this is unreal. Like, I didn't even know what to do. And something that Coach Wallen told me that it kind of stuck out. He's like, whether you strike out 100 times in a row, like, you're the one we want there. So either you can figure it out, because we're going to keep you there. And it was kind of like, it was cool because it helped me really think about it and not kind of dwell on it. I was like, oh shoot, like, I should really get it together here, because I'm the one that needs to be here, and I'm the one that, it was just cool. It was cool to understand that he trusted me so much, when you're a freshman, thinking that I have to be perfect. They recruited you for a reason, and he's like, at any moment you could have hit a home run. Why would I not want that there?
Right.
And we deal with it if you don't. So that's cool. I'll never forget that. I didn't know what to do. I did not know what to do.
So
I tried.
Did you just try to find like one little win at that point? Like, let's touch her. Like, what was your thought process?
I remember in my brain, like, celebrating that I hit a foul ball. Like, that's how bad it was. But I was like, let's go. And I think I eventually maybe got a hit. I cannot remember exactly. That was 10 years ago. So, but yeah, I think, and then the next weekend, I think I did great. Like, I think I hit home runs and whatever. So it just, your turnaround's so short.
Yeah.
You always have another game to play. So you might as well just like get over it and try again.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite outlooks, especially just with hitting, because that's my baby, I love it, is like just knowing that there's gonna be a day where you get a hit. And like, you don't have sometimes you don't have control of like when that's going to be, but just knowing like, no, there's a hit in me somewhere. Just keep going. Just like in basketball, my dad always just be like, just keep shooting, just keep swinging, just keep shooting. Like, yeah. That's literally, and I kind of had to just like repeat that. Like, okay, a hit's coming. I don't know when. And it's hard to do, it's hard. It's easier to say, but
in the moment, especially.
I think you do have to be optimistic in those moments. Like, it's so funny that like the one that sticks out to you is Georgia, because my story, I think of Georgia. Okay, but do you remember that big jumbotron that they put up with everybody's stats next to their name?
Yeah. Oh
yeah. So I think it was maybe my junior year we're playing there, or sophomore year or something. No, it might have been my senior year. I don't even. 10 years ago, like a long time ago. I was hitting like literally above 400, and I didn't know it at the time. Like, I had no idea. And
it popped up.
It's up there. And I was like,
yeah,
wow, and then like first at bat, I'm up there, and like I put a really good ball, like bat on the ball. I think I hit like a line drive, and then I look up and like my stats go down. And I was like, oh no. And literally the whole weekend, I'm just paranoid about my stats. And I was never one that wanted it on my stats. I literally had like this 16 game hitting streak going on, and my SID told me that. And then the next game I didn't get it, just because like I get in my head when I see this stuff. And it was like the worst weekend of my life at Georgia, because I was just like, God. And then after the weekend, I was like just under 400 because of just how much I was beating myself up about like my stats.
You're playing at Georgia too. Like this team is good. Like, it's not like that's what your stats are supposed to do. They're going to go down when you play, competition like that. It's just such a part of it. I'll never forget either too. Like, I've only been swept one time when I played at Florida, and it was against Tennessee, and it was my junior year, and the pitching staff sucked. I've never seen Rocha break a clipboard in the whole 4 years that I was there, except this weekend, because we could not throw a ball that didn't leave the yard. We gave up like 7 home runs in the series, like something crazy. Hannah was giving up home runs. I was giving up home runs. Our third string pitcher was giving up home runs. Like, we couldn't keep the ball in the yard. And we ended up winning a national championship that year. So it's just so weird how, if we would have, you know, kind of let that weekend define us, and that's an SEC, so it's not like it's the beginning of the season, how things can change and how you can really learn from those situations and still be the best team in the nation at the end of the day. Like, you would have never thought we got swept by Tennessee winning a national championship that year. No one thinks about that. No one cares to look at that.
Because it didn't matter in the end.
No, didn't matter
at all. Yeah, I think we put so much on one individual weekend or game, and like some people think, oh, after that weekend, it's like, oh, well, we can never win a national championship. But like, if anything, that weekend probably taught you more than any other weekend of the year.
We had a totally come to Jesus moment with our pitching staff and Coach Wallen and Coach Rocha, that it was the best thing that could have ever happened to us, probably. Like, we took a new direction on our strategy, what was important to us, going off of our strengths and understanding our strengths. Like, it was a weekend of like, like, we really learned a lot. And so I'm really, it's honestly, I'm so thankful for it, because at this point, who cares? Like, I don't even think about that. I have a national championship ring that year. Like, I don't think about the time we got swept. I don't know.
Right. But I am grateful that you shared it, though, because we all have those needed come to Jesus moments because of just how bad it gets. And I think if you would ask any national championship team, like, why are you here? Why did you win? I think everybody instinctively will probably think of like one really tough moment that as a team you got through together, really allowed you to be able to be standing on the pedestal at the end of the season, because like you went through more, you know, like you were shot in the foot more, but you kept getting up. Like,
it's, no one thinks like, oh, this year was so great, it wasn't hard, it was easy, we won. Like, there is not a single team that's ever said that. Like, every team faces adversity, and it's who can come through it, learn from it the fastest is always just going to be the one that's on top. 100%.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so you're a coach now, and you talked about Coach Walton, and you always talked about him when we were together when we played. And I'm just very intrigued, and I know a lot of coaches are listening to this. Like, what are huge takeaways that Coach Walton gave you now as a coach? Like, what are you taking away that he did really well for you or the team that stood out to you at Florida?
There are so many details of this game that I did not know existed.
Yeah.
And trying to be 7 steps ahead, I think, has always been something that I never thought of. I was like in the moment, here for a good time, not a long time. Like, but now as a coach, being able to try to think about things before they happen, or where's the next play going to be, or if that ball is right here, what's our best shot of getting this girl out? Who has the best arm in this situation? Who can we get? Like, I never thought that way until I played for Coach Walton. He's so detailed. He takes defense so seriously, which I was a pitcher and a first baseman, so I never really thought I had a big hand in defense, but I understood that there's a huge advantage when your pitcher can field. And there's a huge advantage when you have a great first baseman, and it's not just like the pitcher that's not pitching, let's just put her over there. You know, like, there's value in those positions defensively. And he has a way of not changing you that I loved. Like, he was never a hitting coach that was like, this is how we hit here. So I know we recruited you, but you're going to learn our style. It was like, what are your strengths? I want to make them better. I don't want to make your weaknesses better. I want to make your strengths better. Now, when you make your strengths better, your weaknesses, you know, get better. But he very much capitalized off of what you're good at and what the team needed in the moment. I think that was so cool. And Rocha was the same way. And I really try to coach like that, and not try to make everybody who they're not, because that's why softball is so cool, is there's so many people can be good at so many different things.
Yeah. We had JT Gasso, the Oklahoma hitting coach, on. He was my hitting coach in college, which is why I was so excited.
That's super cool. He's awesome. I've actually got to know him I worked at Pro Swings camp and he was there and he was really awesome.
Okay, well, he takes the same strategy as Coach Walton in that regard. Like, he goes, when we get players that come here, he goes, my job isn't to change them. My job isn't to be like, here's what you're doing wrong. My job is to be here for when you want work on something. Like, if somebody's struggling with the changeup, like, yeah, he might be like, so, how's the changeup going? But like, they'll be like, yeah, it sucks. Help me. But he's literally just kind of like that board that you can go like talk to and also get, advice from, but he's not trying to change these hitters. He's not trying to make them something that they're not, because the reason why they are who they are is because they know themselves. And they'll go through some tweaks throughout their college career to help them, become smarter hitters and things like that. But like, JT never wants to change a hitter's swing. And I'm immediately thinking of like Amanda Lorenz at Florida. Yeah. Simply because not the functional swing that you normally see, right? Like, it's not the same swing that you would notice, I don't know. It doesn't stand out. Right. But she gets the job done. Like, and she's a great hitter. Like, she just had an amazing so weekend. Much value in that. Like, I know. I'm holy. Like, your swing doesn't have to look perfect. And too many people are after the perfect swing when it's not about having a perfect swing. It's about what do you do when you're fooled? Can you still get a hit when you are fooled? What is plan B, and can you do it? It's not, everything doesn't just work perfectly every single time. That's the reason why pitchers are good. My dog's going crazy. She's starting to bite me. Daisy. Sorry. I knew that wouldn't last. Dog is making the appearance. Love it. Right. But she was competitive. She had obviously she was talented with great hand-eye coordination, because she could still, even if she was fooled or the ball was 4 balls off the plate, she was still able to get a hit. Like, her barrel found the ball and she was strong at contact. Like, I remember hitting this like line drive, like stupid line drive over the third baseman's head. And I'm just like, hang on, how did that just happen? 3 balls off the plate. And like, you're looking at her contact point and you're like, that's ugly, but like, she got a hit. Like, so why are we trying? And honestly, I think what fired me up about this was, so many people looked at my swing and they go, wow, your swing is perfect. It's beautiful. Like, and I'm like, okay, thanks. But like, so like, it's not like, I worked on my swing like my whole life. Like, I loved trying to like get a little bit better at it and like work, but I didn't work to make it pretty. Done. Yeah. Right. I didn't work to make it pretty. I worked to get hits. I worked to, I don't know, just become a better version of myself. But like, I don't care. What I was going to say off that too is, luckily, I will say, Oklahoma's in a position where they don't have to mechanically change hitters very much. Right? We'll just be honest. Like, some of these coaches who are going to be watching are not able to coach athletes that are Oklahoma, Florida, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I've learned that too, of like, it's going to be, you might have to mechanically help some hitters out. Yeah. But like, there's a way to coach athletes to where they're still empowered by wanting to work on something. And I think a good coach can help bring that out of them and be like, hey, you know how you struggle with the inside pitch? Your hands are getting a little away from yourself. Like, let's work on maybe keeping them tighter so you can rock that pitch. Like, there's a different way to approach it. Yes. And to all obviously understand that, like, when we're making changes, it's not to take away from what you're good at. Yeah. Like, you are good at this for sure. I think you could be better. I think we could make this better. But to always make sure that exactly. I think, and also just not making them, this is what I say, and this is how we're going to do it, is always, this is the way. This is the only way. Like, this is the way. Isn't that from like The Mandalorian? Probably. Do you watch The Mandalorian? I have watched a little bit of The Mandalorian, but I am like such a original Star Wars fan that like, I just always watch those. I feel that. And I totally just geeked out. That's talking about Star Wars. It's fine. Well, everybody knows now. Yeah. Okay. So speaking of great coaching, what else did Tim Walton teach you that you're bringing to travel ball? I kind of want to dive into a little more of the travel ball world.
I mean, just kind of talking about what I said before, like the details of all of it. Communication and honesty is something that he taught me a lot of. I'm really thankful for him. He taught me how to tell the truth and that the truth is always better. He taught me how to be more organized. He just taught me so many details of the sport I didn't know existed. And it was so creative how he would, coach those things and teach us those things with either like a visual example of like putting flags in the ground, or like if the ball is here, this is where it needs to go. If the ball is here, it's yours. But if it's 2 steps this way, it's someone else's. Like he was just so to a T of that. Now, when you're coaching young kids, they might not understand all that, but there's a way to teach them, details of like, this might happen, being ready for the next play, just educating them in that way. Because I don't know, when I watch going to travel ball and stuff, and not that I freaking know everything, that's not what I'm saying, but there are a lot of missed opportunities for teaching moments because everyone's so caught up in winning and losing.
Yeah.
And that is not the most important thing in travel ball ever. Now, if you do the details and you get those things done, you'll probably win, but sometimes you won't. It's okay too.
Yeah. What in travel ball right now like irks you to the core?
How it can be so about the coach and where they've gotten their players to go, and then marketing themselves as something to get them, girls to be on their team of like, well, I know this person and I've gotten this many D1 recruits to these many places. And like, it's so that way. It's so like, it's my way or there's no way a lot of the times. And having coaches straight up embarrass players in the middle of games when there are college coaches present, and letting their emotions get so ahead of them that they don't understand that in the moment, you probably shouldn't do that. It makes me sad. It irks me so much that it's so not about the player sometimes, and it's so about themselves. It drives me up the wall.
You probably see that every weekend you're out there.
Every weekend. Oh my God. Every single weekend. It is. We were playing a team in PGF, and this girl, we have, some big time programs behind our backstop. And this catcher just like missed the ball. She judged the pop fly wrong. It was a big deal. Yeah, she probably should have caught it. But the coach literally yelled out in the middle of the game, and that's why you won't get recruited. Screamed it. College coaches present.
And she's
what
crying.
Are you doing?
Like, I would start crying if I was a player.
Like, what are you doing?
You're scarring her.
Is that going to help her in any way, shape, or form in the situation? You could teach her in that moment. You could say, that was really important. This is what I think you should have done better on. Go get hit now. Like, oh my God. Like, oh.
I think a lot of coaches, I think a lot of coaches play with too much emotion, or they coach with too much emotion. Like, and he's probably the same guy who, when a player makes like this incredible play, is loud and excited and like, but I think getting caught up in emotions and like, it's not going to work. Like, I think some of the best advice I've ever heard from like a high level coach in college was like, if I am too high in my emotions, we won't have our meeting right away. We won't have our team meeting right away, because I know I'm going to say something that I'm going to regret, and I'm going to hurt somebody that I don't want to hurt, and it's just going to come out wrong. And I think that just the silence is sometimes more important, to let the players, because they're already beating themselves up, don't add to it.
No one did it on purpose. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Like, nerves got the best of her that time. And I guarantee you, if that exact same thing happens again, she's not going to miss it. Because if you're coaching a gamer, if you're teaching your athletes how to be competitive and be gamers, that won't happen. Right. Because she's already learned from that mistake.
Right. Or if she truly did something and she didn't know how.
Right.
And you decided to jump down her throat because she missed it, and not because like, hey, do you actually know what you're supposed to do in that situation? If not, let me help you.
Yeah.
Because they're literally 16. I didn't know anything at 16. You don't know anything at 16. You have so much to learn. Now, as a 16-year-old, I thought I knew everything, but you don't. And there's so many parts of the game that you can learn in, and we just don't put enough emphasis on teaching through those moments, I think. Well, I guess I just don't see that ever. I don't know. It's the embarrassment on the field for me that I can't believe still like happens, and people are okay with that, or why parents are okay with that.
Right. And if you're doing that, you're scaring them into a way to where they're fear-based. And if it happens again, that's when they're going to suck. Like they're literally in their head saying, don't let it happen again. Like, don't screw up. And then you screw up.
It's so it's just another point on that. It's very manipulative behavior. And so if a parent doesn't know anything, they don't know any better, they're going to use that against them and say, well, I'm the only one that's going to get your daughter recruited, so I can treat her however I want. And they don't know any better, so they won't do anything about it. And the girl doesn't know any better. And it just makes me so sad. Anyway.
How are parents in travel ball?
I'm lucky that I coach a really great group of parents, but there are tons of, they forget that their kids are kids and that they are adults and they are the adult in the situation. And it's very much, well, I pay you, so I deserve to have a hand in things, or I deserve, my daughter should be playing. There's always a playing time thing. I'm very lucky, but the parents can be just as toxic when they just don't let their coaches coach, or they can't accept that their kid might not be as good as another, or that their kid actually has to work and compete for a position. I think that it's weird when you're younger, the team, like the numbers are usually like 11 girls on a team, 10 girls on a team. As they get older, I think that parents have a hard time of understanding when they hit like that 14U mark and you're playing 4-day tournaments, that you need more kids on your roster,
right,
to make sure that your kids are always able to perform. And I think that's a hard transition for them.
Yeah. What do your parents do that you wish more parents did? Like, because they're doing such a great job of.
I think that they are incredibly classy in the way that they talk to umpires. And well, they don't. We have like a pretty serious no tolerance policy of like, I won't talk to you about playing time. The kid needs to come up and talk about playing time if something is, our parents have never yelled or talked to another team or umpire. They pretty much just sit there and cheer on their kids and they cheer on their team. And I think that they let us handle game situation, and they're pretty hands off in that regard. And I think that just makes everything run so much smoother, because Kevin's super honest. I find myself being super honest, and that gives you the opportunity that if you don't want to be here anymore, that's okay. But if you're never honest with a parent, I could see their frustration. If you say you roll out the red carpet, come to our team, she's going to start, and then you don't, I'd be mad too. But if you kind of just tell them how it is at the beginning, and gives them the ability to make a decision on whether they want to stay or leave, or whether they think this is a good fit, so that if they do decide to join, they can be hands off.
Yeah. I love the playing time and how the athlete should come up to the coach, because I mean, that's what it is in college. That's what it was for me in pro. Like, I think it adds this, I wanted to say leadership, but I think it's just more ownership of a conversation. It's very hard to have. Like, if that's your policy, I guarantee you some athletes that have come up to you are scared-ish-less to have that conversation, but it's important for them to have those conversations now, because they're owning it. And yes, I guarantee you, my dad would have prepped me for that conversation. He would have been like, all right, here's how you should approach this.
That's what a parent should be. Right.
I love my dad. He needs to be on the podcast.
You have always said so many great things about your dad.
And your dad too. Like, I think we were, I don't want to say trained, because like they weren't training us. They were just teaching us,
guiding, teaching,
how to have tough conversations, and playing time's one of them. And if you're always, talking to the coach about playing time, your athlete has no say in it. And if your coach says, hey, so-and-so is better than you right now, but I can see you developing. And if you are better than her, you will be in the lineup. And if you're honest with your athlete, then yes, it's going to be hard to hear. Like if somebody says you just need to be better offensively, that's hard to hear, but it's the truth. And if it's hard to hear, but it's also something that you know, and you're empowered by your coach in knowing that like you could get better at this, here's how I can help you get better at this. It's like everybody wins, because now you're going to be working on your offense, and now it challenges the rest of the team to pick it up. And then all of a sudden you're winning championships. And it's just because you're honest and you give your athletes ownership of their skills.
And I think it's really important too to follow through with what you tell them. Because it took a lot for that kid to come and talk to you, and approaching it with a kind way. I think I've heard, kids approach and ask, and then their coaches be so awful or like rude, or like, and then it's important to follow through with what you tell them. Yeah. So like if I say I need to see you at, these other optional practices, or I need to, and then you will get more opportunities. If I never follow through with that, they're never going to ask again. I think that's parenting too, but it's important in coaching to follow through with what you say, because your job is to get your players to trust you and what you're doing. And if you don't follow through, that trust gets really small.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think when it comes to travel ball, we could talk for hours about this, to be honest, because I can't tell you how many times I hear from parents or coaches like travel ball is so bad, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, the team or the coach that's honest and like has shown it, like he or she may not be perfect in every other realm, but at least you're getting an honest person. At least you're getting the person that like when they say something, they do it. Like I think there's a lot of politics in travel ball. So bad. I mean, it's even so in high school's worse, in my opinion, with politics. I only say that because I went through it, I guess, but also I don't know. There's just so much wrong about travel ball, and like sadly, I think the teams with the honest coaching staff and the one that they make it all about the players. Like those teams are rare.
They are so hard to come by. It's so hard to, well, especially being an ex like college player, professional athlete that, I've ranted about this on my Twitter. Like, no wonder, I can totally see why girls who played in college don't want to coach travel ball.
Yes.
Like, it's so bad having to feel like to explain yourself to someone who's never played, and not to take away that their coaching experience, but like, this is something I'm confident in, and I confidently know the answer, and I feel like I can make someone better at, but oh, you don't know, you're young, you haven't been doing this as long as I have. Like, I don't know. It's hard to keep your voice in a place where it's a lot of men, which is nothing wrong with that. Like I had a lot of great male coaches in my life.
Me too.
But the daddy ball and because I'm older and done this longer, I don't know. I just know I get totally why girls don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I 100% get it.
Oh,
and not every girl.
Yes.
It's so bad. It's so sad.
I know.
And then they're like, why can't we find a good coach, a good female coach? And I'm like, because you run every single one off.
True.
And their 8U experience, their volunteer 8U first experience was god awful, and they don't want to do it anymore. I don't blame them.
That's so sad.
It can be rough.
Yeah, that's so sad. It's like, you got to find the balance of like fun, competitiveness, sucking sometimes, like, I mean, like when you mentioned daddy ball, it just makes me think of, and again, my dad was my coach for almost my whole life, but he treated it as if you, aka also you, my daughter, are not performing or are not better than somebody else in this position, you will not play that position. Like he understands winning, but he also understands that it's hard. Coaching is so hard. Coaching a bunch of different athletes with a bunch of different personalities and trying to create a culture that is a winning culture, but also something where these kids are coming out of it better humans, it's hard to do, but it's also not about pleasing parents. It's not about pleasing the kids. Like, no, like I don't even know where I'm going with this, but travel ball stuff.
Yeah, it's tough. it's really tough. And Kevin has, his daughter plays on our team. But if you watched a game, you would absolutely never know that they were related. And I have so
Yeah.
much respect for him for that. Like she calls him Coach Kevin. It is such a player coach relationship out there. And so it's just so nice to see. Like Anna moves up and down the lineup all the time. Where she's doing good. You know what I mean? Like but that's how everybody is. And so I just envy Kevin and Anna's relationship a lot. If you watched, the only reason why you would know is because they have the same last name.
Yeah.
Other than that, you have no idea.
So other than that relationship and like how great he does of separating dad and coach, what else do you see with the coaching staff that you coach under? Because you said he wouldn't even be coaching in travel ball without having him as a mentor of yours. What else is attractive that they do a little bit differently than everybody else, which is the reason why you're coaching travel?
Being a good person, telling the truth, and our morals and values 100% with him always come first before winning or losing. It's always been that way. He's the nicest, kindest man I think I've ever met too. Like there's not like a mean bone in his whole body, which is so not me. He is just such a good human being. He is so generous and tries to run our team like it would be at the next level with, and he's generous with those things. And with the contributions he makes to the players and making sure they have team dinners to make sure they have, team bonding time. And he doesn't have to do those things, but he is so willing to go out of his way to be generous and to make things right. Then A, to take the easy way, B, to just make it easier for him, or I don't know. They just do things the right way, and his morals and values always come first. That is so important to me, and it makes me enjoy this process.
Yeah. So how do you get your players to play at the level of your team? You coach a great team. Like you have players going on to play in college and pursuing their own dreams. How do you get players to play at the highest level, but also not have a mean bone in your body as your head coach has? Like, how does that still happen? Like at practices or things like that?
I think that it just goes a long way of like respect. The respect that they have for Kevin is like huge. The things that, I mean, not that we're picky, but we have a culture and we are very true to we don't feel like this player is going to fit in with she just brought it to me, fit in with our culture. We'll pass just because that is so important to us.
Yeah.
And when you have like-minded people around you, it's really easy to like play at the highest level when it's enjoyable for everybody. I think that's been a huge part of it. Winning's not the biggest thing. Now they need to win. They need to learn how to compete, which is something that I think they struggled with this past summer. They went to PGF Nationals for the first time. They're from North Carolina. Like playing in Southern California is very, very different. Now we played freaking 2 East Coast teams when we were there, but it's still, I think they saw a whole different side of, travel ball and what it could be. But we also played a really hard schedule, and it's the first time we played the schedule that we did. So, oh my God.
I love the squeaky toy in the background.
I know. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
The one you brought me.
I know. Arnie does the same thing. But I really love that. And I love that they were introduced to a different side of softball that they've never seen. And they probably got a little kick in the pants. Like, oh man, like we thought we were good. Here's the next level. But that's so neat to know that, as long as you live out the standards of that culture that you have, which to me, it looks like as an outsider, your culture is amazing. Like you have great athletes, you have great people and parents. Like it definitely stems from just doing things the right way, like you keep saying. Do you mind sharing like some of the standards or like things that create that culture for you guys, that what you're looking for a team like that?
Yeah, we have like a zero bullying, there's no bullying. There's parent signed contracts. We have no tolerance policies of the way that they act, at tournaments. Like unfortunately we've had some incidents where we love the player, but we had an incident and they had to move on because they broke rules, and that was so hard. Like,
All right.
I think we make it, you need to be respectful, and you need to be kind to each other. That's a huge part of it. We can just have a zero tolerance policy for a lot of those things, and it's not a fear thing, but it's just how we do it. And if, geez, Daisy, ma'am, you want to say hi?
Daisy, can we just like ship her over here and have her play with Arnie for a little bit?
Right. Yes.
Are they both golden doodles? They are.
She's Labradoodle.
Oh, she's a Labradoodle. She is so cute.
Oh,
hi, Daisy.
Hey. She said, hey, I'm on the podcast.
I love that her name's Daisy too. Was that a Florida thing? Like,
no, I just always wanted a dog named Daisy.
Oh, got it.
So
that's cute.
That's a sunflower thing.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah. Hi, Daisy. Okay,
so
ow.
Cute.
Go get your bone. Go get your bone.
Anybody, so some people that are like listening and they're like, what is happening? The people on YouTube that watch this are going to be like, yes, there's a dog in the picture. Daisy is the dog, and she is making an appearance. Honestly, it makes it fun. I love it.
Yes. Okay.
Even though your
that's what
arm's
I was
being
saying.
ripped off.
And we have a big pamphlet of rules and expectations, and we are very not strict about them, but we stick to our word about how these things need to be handled and what's a rule, and this is the consequence to that rule. And if you miss practice or you miss whatever, like, you will be sitting a game. Like, that is how that works. And not to say that we don't encourage people to, take time for themselves or their family or playing other sports, but understand that, like, this is the commitment you made to us, and this is what we're going to hold you to. And everybody has the same, whether it's Anna or whoever, everybody is very much held to the same standard. And I think that is what they also can see and what they know too. It helps.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I know a lot of people are going to be able to find value in that, and because they're trying their hardest. Like, I know, like, some people forget that, like, parents are trying their hardest, like, to help their kid, but sometimes it's like boundaries aren't a thing, and coaches are also they're trying their hardest too, but maybe it's like one or two things that you're describing that are missing from a program that people can learn from. I know a ton of people are going to learn a lot from that. I want to dive into one thing before we'll do our final, like, rapid fire questions after this. I could not literally have this interview without talking about this. You have no idea what I'm about to say.
Okay. No.
So, okay, as I'm like looking up all your accolades on Wikipedia, just to make sure I get the years right? Because those are hard when we're getting older. I was like going through all this stuff, and I'm like, Lauren had like such an epic career, and I played first base one time against the Bandits, and I'm bringing this up because it's literally on Wikipedia, Lauren. I'm bringing it up.
On Wikipedia?
Oh, it is. It says there was a charge player who had the error. That was the reason why you didn't. Yeah. No, it's fake. For people, I need to set the scene. People have no idea what I'm about to say. Playing the Bandits, Lauren is going through like this badass day. Like, I'm like at first base, super pumped because Lauren's like slaying. She has no idea she has a no-hitter at the time. And I think it's like 7. What? Yeah. Oh, no hitter. I know. Game. She was literally having a perfect game. Nobody's touched the back.
It was the 6th inning. If you want.
See, Lauren remembers this. I'm playing first. Scared-ish-less at this point, going into the 6th inning. Like, she's got a perfect game. I don't know if she knows this. And she is the amazing defender that she is. She gets this like routine ground ball to her. Maybe it was a hard hit. I think it might've been a hard hit. And she kind of like lofts this ball to me. Kind of like a, here it comes, not like a straight shot, but like this awkward shoot. I have to take my glove over things. Yeah. I'm not blaming you for this at all. I'm enough of a first baseman to where this should have been
a better throw.
Okay. Should have caught the freaking ball. I'm a professional athlete. Catch the freaking ball. The whole time in my head, I'm like, don't miss this throw. Like, don't miss this throw. Don't miss it. and it like, I'm shifting my glove, it like bounces down, but I swear I grab it with my other hand in time to like get the runner out, and the umpire like calls her safe. And I literally am trying to fight back tears. I'm like, I just killed Lauren's perfect game. Like I literally just did this. And I wish there was replay. Can we just talk about this though? There was no replay. And like,
no,
in
that
my
game
head,
was probably not even being recorded on anything.
Exactly. And as a first baseman, like when you get somebody out, you kind of like feel it. Like I know I missed it, but I really felt like I made the recovery fast enough to still get her out. But the umpire like called her safe. So that I ruined your perfect game. But I'm talking about this simply because professional athletes still have really, really tough moments. So after that, Lauren was the best teammate. Lauren was like, Bert, it's okay. Like, it's fine. You know, internally she's pissed off, of course, as she should be. You don't act like
I really wasn't pissed off. Like pissed off was not something that I felt. Like, I was just
still heartbroken.
Yeah, like disappointed, but not like mad at you. Like I was not mad at you.
But I wanted to share this because like you were like the best teammate after that had happened. Like, because I'm beating myself up. I'm literally like, I screwed this up. Game's over. I'm in tears. Like, and literally I'm just so upset. And Lauren, really upset. Dude, I don't even know what coach said in the huddle. I was like,
it doesn't matter.
5-0. But I was so upset just simply because like I wanted it for you so bad to where I freaked myself out and screwed it up. And
you know that I've never had a perfect game.
You know, that doesn't help.
But like, I know it's because you want, yes, it's not, and it's something I've told this story before to like people. I've not said who you were.
I would too.
But I'll tell people. Yeah, I tell people that
like story. You only have so much control until somebody else screws it up. But no, I wanted to share this before we signed off simply because you were the best teammate in that situation. Of course I was like super upset and you're like, Bert, it's fine. Like, it's fine. And she still threw a no-hitter, one catch away from a perfect game. But, in that situation, you could have easily just been like, F you, like just
like emotions could have taken the best of both of us.
I know. But I think I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just grateful that it could have been worse. Not really, but I think that you were just great in that situation. And I think,
well, thanks. I'm glad that I was.
I needed to get this off my chest.
No, it's okay. Keep going. Whatever you need.
That's it. I'm almost crying right now because
that's funny. But the thing is like I think the Bandits end up winning the championship that year. That was like that was their year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in that situation, like, who am I to be upset over a perfect game? I just threw a no-hitter against the freaking Bandits randomly, who had some of the toughest hitters I've ever faced that always got hits off me. Like, who am I to be like, oh my God, I could have a perfect game. Like, how so? I think Rocha was our coach of that. No. Yeah.
She was.
Rocha was She was, because she got the ball signed for me, which was so sweet. I still have it, actually. I don't know. What an experience.
I just think that like, if people were to compete against you, they'd be like, she seems like a B word. You know what I mean?
Yes. I hate that.
And I need to just share that like, you're selfless as heck. Almost, just cussed on the podcast, but you're so selfless. You're just a gamer. You're a competitor. You're fierce. You're honestly that teammate that I really looked up to in the pro league, because I was struggling with let's face it, I think I was depressed at the time for a long period of time.
Yeah.
But like, you really kind of helped me stay strong. Like, you used to like put on like makeup. She'd cake on her makeup friends before her starts, because that helps her with like her confidence. I think, at least that's what
I guess. Yeah.
Just like it was like your way of like preparing yourself.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And like, I learned so much from you, like how to be a good teammate in that situation, but also like, how do you mentally prepare? How do you physically prepare for a big performance? Like, you taught me a lot about how to be confident, basically. But also how to be super selfless. So I couldn't end this podcast without saying that story, but also just sharing how much I love you.
Goes way back. Well, thank you. That was very nice of you.
You're welcome.
I'm so happy that not that I thought that I would treat you like bad, but I could have that's emotional.
It was.
You know?
Mhm.
That's emotional. That could have been, I think it was good.
Yeah. I think everybody on our team remembers that game. I don't remember that think so. That everybody fails at some point in their life.
It's okay. It's good. You know, when people try to tell
it doesn't
you that
get
you're perfect,
worse.
Daisy.
Yeah, like when people are like, "Oh my gosh, everything is so hard right now," I'm like, "Let me share this story."
Yeah.
Let me share this.
Right.
I broke I was the opposite side of breaking a perfect game. I think even the runner that got on base was just like, I feel so bad for you.
No, I remember the whole bandits dugout. They were like, dude. And I'm like, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It'll be okay.
She finished it out. That was still the only, okay. Let's move on before I start crying.
Okay.
We're going to wrap up with 5, I call it 5 to Thrive. So basically like 5 rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to mind, answer it. Sound good?
Okay.
Before I do that though, I know people love you and I know that most people are probably already following you, but how do people find you to hear your wisdom on Twitter when you went on that rant and I loved it? Things like that.
All travel ball rants, L Haeger 17. That's usually what my Twitter's for. And then my Instagram is exactly the same, L Haeger 17. And then
with the blue check mark.
I do. I do have that. I'm just a has been now, but and I give lessons at the softball project in Charlotte, North Carolina. So if you're in the area, you know where to find me.
Love it. Learn from Lauren.
Yes.
She's thebomb.com. I'll make sure all of that you can find in the show notes as well to be able to follow her. All right. Anything else that we need to share that you're up to that maybe we didn't know about?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Just go say hi to her at a tournament when she's coaching, because she's everywhere.
If you're travel ball people, just say hello. I'm usually in a big straw hat because the son and I just don't get along.
Go.
But
didn't your dad used to wear straw hats?
He wore a bucket hat.
Okay, bucket hat.
He was a bucket hatter.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, not the squeaky toy.
I love it. All right, let's do this. 5 to Thrive questions.
I'm ready.
First question I have for you. What was the greatest lesson your parents taught you?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I would say that lesson is to always judge people off if they're a good person or not before anything else. They have always been that way. They have always instilled that in me, that being a good person above everything is what's important.
Love it. What's your favorite thing about the game?
The people and the places and the experiences you'll have playing it. 100%.
Good answer. What's your favorite memory from this game?
All the people, just kidding. It could really be the same answer, but I think the traveling and the experiences in that way of the places that I've been on 6 continents before I was 26 years old. I have Antarctica left, but I don't know if I'll be going there for softball if I ever go there. The places I've traveled, the experiences, and how much it's grown me as a human being and the confidence that it's instilled in me, why I'm important and why I have value as a woman. It's definitely helped a lot with that too.
Yeah, you exude a lot of that confidence. Now, what advice would you give maybe your 12-year-old travel ball self that's just starting out?
That you are perfect the way that you are. You are built the way that you are to be successful in this game. You have gifts that not everyone around you is going to understand or think that are normal, but they will literally take you to experiences. Hey, Arnie, that the normal average person will never get to experience without. You got a package.
Yeah. It's at the doorstep.
I mean, I was 5'10" when I was a freshman and in high school, and I was 200 pounds, and that was really hard as a teenage girl, but it will pay off, and you will not even care about that for 1 second.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about Arnie, but I will say that could be like a whole nother episode. It's just that I love how you talk about that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have you back on. We could talk about that.
It's all good.
Like I said, there's a million places we could have gone. Now, before I ask you the final question, I just want to thank you a million for coming on the show. Probably should have happened in season 1, but grateful it could happen now. You have an incredibly busy schedule with your team. My dog.
You love him.
I love him. I do have to remind myself that.
Yeah.
But I'm just so grateful for what you've given the game. And I know a lot of people that have followed you since before you won 2 Women's College World Series, before you played pro, like you've put a real big staple on our game, and we are so much better with you in it. So super grateful for you.
Thanks, Brooke.
Well,
that was so nice of you to say.
I'm here.
Sometimes when you're out of it for so long, it's really nice to hear those things. Yeah.
I feel that.
So thank you.
You bet. All right. Last question that I have for you. Hopefully Arnie stops barking. What legacy do you want to leave on the game of softball?
That, I mean, so much about like just being who you are is going to make you the best softball player you can possibly be. And when you finally just embrace 100% and be 100% unapologetically who you are, that you'll find you will thrive in sport, you will thrive in life. And I just want to make sure that that's important for everyone to understand as young women getting to play sports, that we are so lucky that we can build that confidence, that self-worth and self-love and everything about being a strong young woman through sport, especially like softball. I guess the legacy is just not about, the statistical parts of it. Obviously, that's a huge part of it. Like now there's a level and a record to be broken, which is so cool. And I hope somebody gets up there because that just made the game better. But just about you can just be whoever you want to be in this sport, and it's okay, and you're perfect. And I guess that's really my mission, is to make sure that teenage girls know that.
It's amazing. Well, your athletes and everybody listening, you've really changed a lot of lives with that. So you're moving. Burke. I love you.
I love you too. I miss you.
I miss you too. We'll see you next time on the show.
Yeah. Next time, next episode.